Hi, I'm responding to a video that I just saw, which intrigued me. It was called Why Islam, put together by Ummah Films. I thought it was interesting because I've seen a lot of this on the net, a kind of an apologist view of Islam and a kind of misrepresentation of Islam. A misrepresentation of Islam by people who in fact are accusing other people of misrepresenting Islam. Let me make this go up here. That way you can see my little t-shirt. I thought you'd like that. But maybe I'll do that a little bit more. Here we go. It actually not only is in English, but for those people in the Middle East, I wanted to make sure that they could make out exactly who and what I am. The first thing he does, and I don't know the man's name, it's under Ummah Films, so who knows who this guy is. He talks about how there must be a God because if you walk down the street and you look at buildings and they're very complicated, the buildings had to be made by somebody, and just because you can't see them doesn't mean that there wasn't someone who created them. Excuse me. This is the same lame argument that inbred Alabama fundamentalist Christian idiots have been saying for centuries about evolution. Complexity in no way means that something was created versus uncreated. I could, for instance, take sugar, put it in water, swish it around, very simple. I created that. Does that mean I didn't create it because it's simple? Why is something simple less likely to be created than something that is complicated? Why can't natural processes create something complicated when we see natural processes creating complicated things all the time? I mean, are we supposed to believe that earthquakes and tsunamis and things that are very complicated, that these things are all being created by God all the time? It's very odd to just say, well, it's complicated, got to be God. That isn't even an argument. It's just a statement. I would suggest in a video that you might want to give me or write me, please explain to me why complexity automatically assumes the existence of a creator when we already know scientifically that complex things can come into existence on their own. In fact, the entire human race came into existence that way. We have overwhelming evidence of that in the fossil record. I think of the example of monkeys that were brought in and given paint and asked to splash around on canvases, and then they took avant-garde artists who like to splash paint around, and then they put the paintings of the artists and the paintings of the monkeys in a museum to see if people could tell the difference between the paintings of the monkeys and the paintings of the artists. Their idea was to show that they couldn't tell the difference, and it was done as a joke. But an interesting thing happened. People were more likely to believe that an artist created the monkeys' splashes because the monkey splashes were so unconventional, so out of the ordinary, so complex. So it was assumed that those couldn't have been made by a monkey because a monkey wouldn't have had the time or the effort or wouldn't have had the foresight to put, or the mentality to put things together in that way. That, to me, is something that debunks your argument, and the experiment wasn't meant to do that. I'm just saying it's very, very interesting that complexity is unrelated to creativity, unless you're saying God is like a monkey, which I don't think you are. You say that things can't spontaneously come up out of chaos. You're right. Things can't spontaneously come up out of chaos as far as we know. But doesn't that disprove your argument? If there's a God, and God supposedly made everything come into existence out of chaos, and you're saying that can't be done, you're contradicting yourself. Things don't come into existence out of chaos except very, very slowly. It's called evolution. It's called science. You seem to be disproving your own argument by saying that something can't happen that religious people claim God does. Well, if it can't happen, then how can God do it? Doesn't make any sense. God creates a universe and then he can violate all the laws of the universe? That's just pretty lame to me. You talk about the perfect creation. And you go on and on about there's got to be a God because of the perfect creation of everything. This universe ain't perfect, dude. This is a horrible universe. This is a place where we're born in pain, we live in pain, and we die in pain. And when we die, it's over. We come to exist. We want to continue to exist because we're genetically geared to do that, because it increases our chances of survival. So we're caught in this mess where we know we're going to die, but yet we want to live. And we can't help but want to live because we're genetically geared to do that. That's a pretty screwy thing for a perfect God to create. On the other hand, a universe that kind of does things on its own, that does sound like something it would do. Because after all, we need to survive, so we're going to have survival mechanisms. So survival mechanisms are not really concerned with us being happy. They're only concerned with us surviving. So the situation that we're in this universe, and the universe itself, the violent place that it is with planets exploding and entire civilizations being wiped out by meteors, it doesn't seem like a place that was created by any kind of perfect, loving God. It seems like a pretty disorganized, chaotic place where we're just lucky that there's one little corner of it that's at least slightly organized enough for us to exist, at least for the time being. And I'm just wondering, would a perfect creator have created such a fucked up universe and created such a crazy life? I mean, if you and I sat down, we could come up with a really, really cool universe where we all exist forever and we're all happy and none of us wants to hurt anybody. And God comes down out of the sky all the time and talks to us and keeps us company and makes us all happy and gives us everything that we need. But that isn't what he's doing. And that doesn't sound like a very loving God to me.